Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYRefy.com. Invest in America like I do, and by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on their server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. And make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you're currently using, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And be sure to patronize our sponsors. And if you don't patronize our sponsors, well... we know where you live. Trump treated rudely by the National Association of Black Journalists. Trump fires back. Trump called racist for asking since when did Kamala Harris become black? Don't you dare mispronounce Kamala. Don't you dare call a DEI hire a DEI hire. All of this and more.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. Do you think the country went to shit over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Memo to the National Association of Black Journalists, where Trump appeared in Chicago at their convention. It would be patronizing bigotry if Trump refrained from criticizing black politicians and black reporters just because they are black. What are you, snowflakes of color?
You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and, you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Trump got hammered for suggesting Harris is a DEI hire.
Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman.
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that.
You see, Trump was too polite to point out that Biden asked about his choice for VP. Remember that? Publicly said, I commit that I will in fact pick a woman to be vice president, end of quote.
I commit that I will in fact I'll pick a woman to be vice president. There are a number of women who are qualified to be president tomorrow. I would pick a woman to be my vice president.
You just committed here tonight that your running mate, if you get the nomination, will be a woman?
Yes.
The vice president committed to picking a woman as his running mate. If you get the nomination, will you?
In all likelihood, I will.
And it just so happened that his 4 VP finalists were all black females. So journalists, what does that make Harris? Get me a DEI hire. Get me a DEI hire, but don't you dare call him or her a DEI hire. Joy Reid? Meet Joy Reid.
Are you committed to naming a black woman as your vice presidential running mate? What makes this so ugly is that it reveals a truth that is clearly broadly held within Republican circles. That white men, by definition, when they have a job, earned it and deserve it. And anybody but a white man is a DEI hire.
Quick question. Are these DEI hires?
Oh, well, I'm sitting here, la, waiting for my ya-ya. Oh, I'm sitting here, la, waiting for my ya-ya. It may sound funny, but I don't believe she's coming. Baby, hurry, don't make me worry. Yeah, baby, hurry, don't make me worry. You know that I love you, oh, how I love you. Sitting in.
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with Yrefy, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrefy.com. That's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. Trump got hammered by these black journalists for daring to question Harris's self-described black identity.
Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman.
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't.
Well, guess what? Even some black people question whether Kamala Harris is black. Are they racist too?
Yeah, well, you know, it's like this. Oh, we got to go support the sister. We can get a black woman in the White. No, you're not getting one. Her daddy says his entire background is either Caucasian Irish or Caucasian Hindu. His Irish ancestors owned a bunch of slaves, and none of his ancestors were slaves. He has a grandmother who is a dark-skinned Hindu who was a house servant. So where does Kamala get her black ancestry, since her mother is classified as a Caucasian Tamil Hindu Brahmin caste person? They're dark-skinned, but they're known anthropologically as Indo-Aryans, I-N-D-O hyphen. But Aryans look exactly like Kamala Harris. They're swarthy, dark-haired, dark-eyed, and they're classified as Caucasian. So she's got a Caucasian mother, Caucasian dad. Where the hell does she come in being black? And even if her great-grandmother was part black, that's still not enough to make her black in America. She'd still be a typical white person. You want to see what the deal is? If you're white and black, do they call you white? No. They call you black, or that other N-word. If you are Chinese and black, they don't call you Chinese, they call you black. But she's supposed to be Hindu and black, and what do they call her in her own community? Hindu. So, yeah, she's lying. She went all through California being district attorney of San Francisco. Then she became attorney general for California. Asian, that's classified as Asian. Hindu, that's from India. Asian Hindu all through California. Now she's black. She went to Howard. Yes. She's an AKA. Yes. But that doesn't make her black. She grew up in Canada. Her yearbook that you can find online if you want to go spend the time looking it up, in which she published when she had some things going on in California, it says she went from kindergarten through 12th grade in Canada. She lied about being bused in elementary school because she never went to elementary school in San Francisco. She was born in the same hospital in the same 12-month period my ex-wife was, and my ex, now late mother-in-law, was a paternity nurse in the same delivery room where she was born. So, yeah, she comes from that, but her mother was a Hindu, a visiting scholar, and her daddy was a visiting Hindu scholar, also professor. So how does she become, from that background, she becomes a black woman? She's not. She's a fake. She's been faking her whole damn life. The whole deal in slavery, the Democratic Party invented, you know, this methodology because they were this party of slavery. They got chartered first, second decade of the 19th century to spread and protect slavery. And they started the Civil War. They started the Klan, Jim Crow, segregation, separate but equal, supposedly, which didn't turn out that way. All of the racism, all of the racist sheriffs and structure that you had in the South that was Democratic. And now they turn the same methodology that they used to tame, train, and domesticate and work Negro cattle on their plantations. They've done it so they get the same thing. It's what you do is you never ever let black men lead other black men if you can help it. Always get a black woman to do it. That was a secret that the slave masters had. So they recruit comely wenches to be bed wenches, and if they're good, they move up to the top floor. And when they get gray hair, they make them mammies and put them out to run the colored on the plantation. That's what they're doing. So they fake this. Now, when I had my show, and when it first started 26 years ago, there were what I thought were two beautiful sisters on staff. One of them was quite dark. And one day when the group of us were having a staff happy hour, one of them said, "Judge, you think we're black women, don't you?" I said, "Aren't you?" She said, "No, we're Hindu." And they gave me a couple of books written by some of their fellows, two guys who had cut their hair off so you couldn't see how wavy it was, changed the way they dressed, changed their language patterns, and passed for being black, and gotten, in one case, a scholarship to medical school, got his way paid, and the other one got paid through school.
And even some blacks question whether Kamala is African American.
Number one, she is a black woman. She's a mixed race woman. When you see her blackness, but she is also South Asian. Her mom is South Asian and her dad is Jamaican.
April, let me listen.
Yes.
More power to her. And I think it's great. That should be enough. Listen, it is enough that she's a black woman.
We are not a monolith.
No.
Exactly. But they did the same thing.
No. I think you're not hearing what people are saying. The people who are saying is she black enough, that's bull. That's BS. But to want a distinction to say, is she African American, or is she black, or is she whatever? There is nothing wrong with that. There is a difference between being African American and being black. Latino people are people of color, but they're not black. They're brown people.
She is a woman of color, but she is a black woman.
Okay, that's why I agree with that. I agree with that. But is she African American? No. But is she African American? There is a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying to take anything away from her.
Let's go down into her lineage.
I think you're falling into the trap of that. All she had to do was say, "I am black, but I'm not African American." That's it.
John, I'm not falling in a trap. I'm not falling in. Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed
Jamaica's
be
not America.
African American mixed with other races. But she is
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a black woman. She was born
did not
here.
Come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well let's go
saying.
into Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was born in Canada.
I'm not talking about Ted Cruz. This is not about Ted Cruz. You're changing the subject.
But you know what?
And if you think Biden lies, he ain't got nothing on Kamala.
And I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden. I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground.
And you ain't black.
But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. So I will tell you that on this subject, it cannot be an intellectual debate among Democrats. We have to take it seriously.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. But so the bottom line here is, look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision.
I'm old enough to remember this.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
I'm old enough to remember this, too.
Senator Kamala Harris.
Hi, guys.
Wait, so here's what I want to know.
Okay.
Is it respectful to call, like, I should be calling you Senator Harris, right?
No, you should not. That's not on my birth certificate.
Okay.
Kamala? Yes, please.
Okay, because the Indian in me, I feel like my parents,
Just
my
don't
dad
call
will
me
watch this.
Just don't call me auntie.
Okay, I won't call you auntie. They'll be like, how could you call her by her first name? She's worked so hard. Okay, so what we're gonna cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president. So we're both Indian, but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people we're related already, so this is perfect. It's basically true.
And this.
I stand before you as the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent.
If you weren't following the news, a massive hit to the U.S. dollar came in June when Saudi Arabia did not renew its 50-year petrodollar deal with the U.S. You see, since 1974, Saudi Arabia has sold oil solely in U.S. dollars, and that was huge to our global economic dominance. Now they want options other than the U.S. dollar. So I ask you, if there is less demand for the dollar, what happens to the dollar? Look, it's reasons like this that Americans turn to Birch Gold Group. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA into physical gold. To learn more, visit LarryForGold.com and claim your free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, visit LarryForGold.com. Birch Gold has earned my trust with their education-first approach, their thousands of happy customers, and their countless 5-star reviews. Protect your savings with gold before the dollar plunges any further. Visit LarryForGold.com today. That's LarryForGold.com today. Actually, National Association of Black Journalists, if you take pride in who and what you are, what difference does it make what Trump or any other person thinks about what you call yourself? He can call you a cantaloupe, doesn't make you one. You ought to know who you are and what you are.
I'm a human being, damn it!
Besides, News Bulletin, studies going back decades find that blacks have higher self-esteem than whites. Therefore, what Trump or anyone else thinks or doesn't think about you or what you call yourself has zero real-world effect. What does affect the real world is, for example, in Baltimore, there are 13 public high schools, all located in the inner city, I kid you not, where 0% of the kids can do math at grade level.
The Maryland State Department of Education released the 2022 state test results and found just 7% of 3rd through 8th graders are proficient in math. That means 93% of kids are not where they should be in the subject. Even more troublesome for the state, in its greatest metropolitan area, 23 Baltimore schools had 0 students meet the standard.
There are over 50 Chicago public schools where, by the way, this convention is taking place, all located in black areas where 0% of the students can do math at grade level. This translates into a massive lifetime earnings loss. What does affect the real world is that in Chicago, over the 4th of July weekend, 100 people were shot, 17 fatally, in mostly black neighborhoods.
Chicago saw an eruption of gun violence this long holiday weekend. 100 people were shot across the city. 17 of them were killed.
None of these black journalists brought this up, but Trump did.
I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back.
What does affect the real world is that 70% of black kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother, which increases the odds of being poor, dropping out of school, and ending up behind bars.
You and I know this is true everywhere, but nowhere is it more true than in the African American community. We know that more than half of all black children live in single-parent households. Half, a number that's doubled since we were children. We know the statistics that children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime. They're 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in prison. They're more likely to have behavioral problems or run away from home or become teen parents because the father wasn't in the home. The foundations of our community and our country are weaker because of this.
Now, the black journalist didn't ask Trump about any of these critical issues, but hey, let's talk about the absolutely, positively critical issue of what Donald Trump thinks about what Kamala Harris calls herself. Memo to the National Association of Black Journalists. What is a black journalist? If your race determines your journalism, then you'd be perfectly okay with a National Association of White Journalists, right? Whether Kamala Harris identifies as black, African American, or Indian, thanks to Biden-Harris policies, the average family of 4, no matter the race of that family, pays $1,200 a month more for the same goods and services as that family paid 3.5 years ago. Another minor issue you failed to bring up while attempting to beat up on Trump.
Yeah, Allie, the Hernandez family used to spend about $1,500 a month on groceries. With inflation, they're now paying $2,000 a month. That's a $500 increase. And they say on top of all other expenses, it's making it impossible to save right now.
Speaking of the economy, this was Kamala, November 2021, on inflation.
And also, what else are you going to do to fix this problem with inflation?
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously. And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue, and we take it seriously. But there is also a point that is important to make on the Build Back Better framework. One, it is designed to make it less expensive for working people to live. It was specifically designed to bring down the costs of childcare and increase accessibility and availability. Designed to bring down the cost of elder care and make it available to all those working families that need that support and need that help. And Build Back Better is not going to cost anything. We're paying for it.
Then we would just be idiots saying nonsense.
And do you remember when Joe was good to go? That was so then.
I'm ready if necessary, but it's not going to be necessary. We have a very bold and vibrant president in Joe Biden. And in Joe Biden, we have one of the boldest and strongest American presidents we have had.
Are you prepared to be commander-in-chief?
Yes, I am, if necessary. But Joe Biden is going to be fine, and we're not going to engage in that hypothetical, because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election. Not only is he absolutely authoritative in rooms around the globe, but in the Oval Office, meeting with members of Congress, meeting with leaders in industry. He is extraordinarily smart. He has the ability to see around the corner in terms of what might be the challenges we face as a nation or globally.
Do you think in your role that you're in a position to do that?
Of course. course, if necessary, but there's no need for that.
Yo, Kamala, Build Back Better is not going to cost anything?
Madam Speaker.
How do you respond to Republicans today that say Democrats lied to the American public when they said this plan costs $0, when the CBO says it at least adds $160 billion to the debt?
Do you want to take that? Let's just not present what the Republicans say as any fact that you're predicating a question on. I mean, understand what's happening around here, okay?
Do you accept the logic that it's all paid for just by taxing the rich, therefore costs $0? Do you accept that logic?
Of course I don't. I mean, look, those taxes will have a very negative effect on the economy. It's not free to people. It doesn't cost zero. It's become a late night comedy, sketch that you've got Nancy Pelosi, you've got Joe Biden, you've got all these people at the White House repeating this laughable line that somehow it's free, it costs nothing. It's like, when you get a credit card and you say, gee, this is free, I can just buy all this stuff and I don't have to pay for it. You know what? The bills come due at some point. Incidentally, one of the tricks that they're going to use in this bill, Stuart, is they're going to try to say that they're only going to count 5 or 6 years of the spending over the 10-year period. Exactly. And say, well, it only costs $1.5 trillion, when in fact the real cost is about 2 or 3 times that high.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. Back to Trump and the black journalists. Now, note the things Trump did not bring up. Did you notice that Trump, while taking hostile questions from these journalists, did not say, if you don't support me, you ain't black?
And you ain't black.
Did you notice that Trump, while taking these hostile questions from these journalists, did not say, I was raised in the black church, got arrested trying to visit Nelson Mandela, and desegregated restaurants and movie theaters?
When you're involved in the civil rights movement as a kid in high school, I used to go down to the black church. I go to 7:30 Mass. I'm a practicing Catholic. Then I go to 10 o'clock. And then we sit and plan what we're going to do in terms of desegregation. You think I'm joking, I'm not.
Let us stand together, at the cross, where I first saw the light and the burdens of my heart.
Well, because I sat in the black church after going to 7 o'clock Mass, I'm happy to be a practicing Catholic. At 9 o'clock on the east side, getting ready to go out and desegregate restaurants and movie theaters.
The Spirit of the Lord. Come on, clap your hands, all these people. Tell us to God with a voice of triumph. Take me up. Come on, the power of the Lord is here.
And I got involved in the civil rights movement. No great shakes, just sit-ins and, and things like that. And the end result of this was...
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood and kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
I was not an activist. I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else. When I was 17 years old, like many of you, I participated in sit-ins to desegregate the restaurants and movie houses of Wilmington, Delaware. I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
I came back from South Africa trying to see Nelson Mandela and getting arrested for trying to see him on Robben Island. He was in prison. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island.
But you did say arrest 3 times. What? Why?
I said arrested. I meant I was not able to move. Cops, Afrikaners would not let me go with them, made me stay where I was. I guess I wasn't arrested. I was stopped.
Look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home. I got involved in desegregated movie theaters. Got arrested for standing on the porch with a black family.
Did you ever save anyone's life when you were a lifeguard? Was anyone ever drowning?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, well, half a dozen times. Usually younger kids. They call him Bozy. My Uncle Bozy. He got shot down in New Guinea. And they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea. I actually taught for a number of years in law school, and then I was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. You make me miss being a professor at Penn. I really enjoyed teaching and writing. One of the conductors said to me, you've traveled over 1 million miles on Amtrak. I said, how the hell do you know that? And they added it up. We have a little sense, Jill and I, what it's like to lose a home. Lightning struck at home. I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat. 3,000 civilians inside the green zone where I've been 7 times and shot at. I got put in that 10 most eligible bachelors list. We're going to cure cancer. We'd end cancer as we know it.
In your last TV interview, you were asked if you had watched the debate, and your answer was, I don't think so, no. Have you since seen it?
I've seen pieces of it. I've not watched the whole debate.
And the reason I ask, because I guess the question is, are you all on the same page? Are you seeing what they saw, which was moments of, frankly, that appeared to be, you appeared to be confused?
Lester, look, why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies he told? Where are you on this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that?
And did you notice that Trump, while taking hostile questions from these journalists, did not say about Barack Obama? I mean, you got the first mainstream African-American who is articulate and bright and clean and nice looking. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African-American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
And did you notice that Trump, while taking these hostile questions from these journalists, did not say poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids?
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
And did you notice that Trump, while taking hostile questions from these journalists, did not say they're going to put y'all back in chains?
Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put y'all back in chains.
I've got a question. If a black female LA Times journalist calls a black male conservative the black face of white supremacy, is she questioning his identity as a black man? Mispronouncing Kamala is also racist, right?
When you look at her words, we don't have to guess what she's going to run on. We can just look at her own words. And her positions are incredibly extreme. I agree with Bakari. Listen, I don't want to attack Kamala Harris as an individual. Let's look at the policy. This is a debate about policy.
Stop.
Okay, good.
Stop.
Kamala.
David, you're a brilliant
how do
man.
I might pronounce it,
That's
Bakari?
my point exactly. That's my no.
Tell me, buddy.
That's my point exactly. The fact is, her name is Kamala. But if you call a woman,
Kamala,
who is
Kamala Harris. Okay, I'm saying
a DEI hire.
Wrong, Bakari.
Wrong.
No.
Guys, first of all, let's not talk over each other because nobody hears.
Yeah, Bakari, I'm talking about, and you know me, and shame on you, Bakari, because you know me better than that. So shame on you. I'm saying let's talk about her. Let's talk about her record. When she calls about, when she asks for mandatory gun buybacks, says we're going to have mandatory. When she says I'm going to do away with private insurance. When she says people in Pennsylvania, I'm banning fracking, and my plan for you is to let you transition to get another job. Those are her words. We should focus on those things, not who she is.
Republicans who spoke at the Republican National Convention, and I was there as a delegate from California, are being slammed for mispronouncing the first name of the vice president, and now the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party.
Perhaps the greatest blame lies with his own vice president, Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris isn't able to do any job.
Joe Biden and his designated border czar, Kamala Harris.
What has Joe Biden and Kamala Harris done?
Who's ready to retire Joe Biden and border czar Kamala Harris and send her back to California?
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Because Biden and Kamala Harris.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris make it impossible.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris suspended deportations.
Since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris took over the offices.
But notice anything about Trump's post-debate reaction? You know, when he was on the golf cart?
He gave me so much. How did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, fantastic.
He kicked that old broken down pile of crap. Yeah. It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic. It's so amazing. It's just so bad. So I just can't imagine.
Notice he pronounced her name correctly.
And that means we have Kamala.
Say that one more time.
And that means we have Kamala.
It's Kamala, not Kamala. So Trump nails it once again. It is simply disrespectful to pronounce Kamala's name incorrectly, right?
That's what I asked Kamala.
I'm asking for your trust and support in 2020 for Kamala and me.
But as Kamala said,
It's not Kamala.
Well, at least it was close.
It's Kamala.
Hey, it happens.
I'm really proud of this group. For Secretary of Health and Education Service, I nominated Javier Baccaria. You know, Javier Becerra, excuse me.
and by the way, Barack's looking at you in the corner over there. Along with Queen Rihanna, who is meeting with Jill now, and the Queen and the Crown Prince Hussein. Where is the Prince out there? I honored a group of trailblazing artists with National Medals of Arts and Humanities. The group included groundbreaking Asian Americans like Vera Wang and Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce it right, Shanga Kawawa. I think I pronounced it correctly. She can call me Joe Biden.
The heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense, a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. I mean, because of the people I've named. It's about making it clear.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. Tonight's awardee is Hakeem Jeffries, a leader with integrity and courage. Courage. And Karen Bass, a visionary mayor and does whatever she says she's going to do. And Karine Jean-Pierre, my press secretary. No wonder I'm doing okay. And Justin Jones, a new voice who gives us hope for the future, Justin. And two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J. By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than my thighs. I think he's... And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. It's the United Kingdom, where just today we've gotten news that Rashid Sunak is now the prime minister. As my brother would say, go figure. Leading tech companies like Anthropic, and I'm going to mispronounce. I'm not going to even try. It's better not to try and not mispronounce than try and mispronounce.
And that means we have Kamala.
Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Now, black women are enforced to support, quote, the first black woman who could become president, end of quote. And, of course, they would be equally supportive if the candidate were Condoleezza Rice. Right? Now, regarding J.D. Vance and his controversial childless cat ladies comment.
Look, what I was basically saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake?
I was a guest on News Nation.
Of course not, Trey. I do think that being a parent actually has a profound effect on somebody's perspective, and we should honor and respect that. But there are a whole host of people who don't have children for a whole host of reasons, and they certainly are great people who can participate fully in the life of this country. And that's not what I said, Trey. If you look at what the left has done, they have radically taken this out of context and, in fact, aggressively lied about what I've said. What I do think is true, Trey, is that the left has increasingly become explicitly anti-child and anti-family.
All right, look, the problem for Vance is that there may be no real context that can explain it away. We're not the left. We're not taking it out of context. I just played you what he said. Now, doubling down usually works for Donald Trump. But is it even fair for me to be saying it's doubling down? You heard what he said. Joining me now, Larry Elder, former presidential candidate and co-chair of the new national PAC, Make America Just Again, and Crystal Knight. She's a political strategist who worked on the presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Larry, let me start with you. I mean, do you think it is fair to characterize what J.D. Vance is doing to some degree as doubling down?
I don't think so. I think he's trying to explain that what he was saying is that people who have children, and by extension grandchildren, have, quote, more skin in the game. Now, I don't have kids, and I had a cat for a very long period of time. My mother felt the way he does. My father felt the way he does. My pastor feels the way he does. A lot of people feel that way. I think we're being very, very thin-skinned about this. But every minute we're talking about this, we're not talking about the fact that the average family of 4 is spending $1,200 a month more for the same goods and services as that family bought 3.5 years ago. We're not talking about the fact that gas prices are up 50%. We're not talking about 8 million people in the country illegally. We're not talking about our enemies being aggressive because of what happened in Afghanistan. Every minute we're talking about this is a minute we're not talking about the issues that the American people care about, and therefore the left has succeeded.
That's fair, except that both sides play this game, right? They both get, I mean, Donald Trump is now putting out ads about things Donald Trump said, and she's saying that they're taken out of context, et cetera. But Crystal Knight, I mean, how big a deal do you think this is? I mean, to me, the greater risk for the Trump campaign is not, oh, their vice presidential candidate made a controversial comment. It's that this comment feeds into some of the issues that, in particular, suburban women may have with Donald Trump himself.
Absolutely. I think, to your opening around this topic, what J.D. Vance is doing is really alienating a large swath of the American public, which is a voting, portion of this public, which are women. But also, I think what he said in his last clip that you played was that there are a number of reasons that people either have kids or they cannot have children, but it doesn't determine their viability to contribute to the greatness of this country. But he did not apologize polarize. And I think what he's doing and what the Trump campaign should do is have him go on and actually create and make an official apology, because I don't think that it helps the campaign. It doesn't help his candidacy. And it also doesn't help him win over the voters, particularly in that Midwestern part of the country and the Appalachia that he so greatly talks about in his book, when he talks about really alienating a large swath of the public because they are, quote unquote, anti-family.
You know, Larry, why not just, I mean, to your point, right, to get this to go away, why not just issue some sort of just quick, you know, look, if I could say it again, I wouldn't say it exactly the way I said it, but my point was blank. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. Isn't that a better way to go, to just make this go away?
It won't go away. They'll come up with some other reason to argue that Republicans are anti-women, Republicans are sexist. I ran for governor in California. Somebody dug out a column I wrote 23 years ago where I talked about a study where 25 questions were put to females and men on politics. Men knew more than women did in 15 questions. They knew the same in 9, and women only knew more than the men did in 1. And I quoted a female professor, left-wing, who said the reason women know less than men do about politics is they watch a lot of local news, quote, and watching local news makes you dumber, close quote. That was translated into elder believes that women are not as smart as men. That's what they do. It doesn't matter what J.D. Vance says. They're going to still make the same argument. They won't drop it. They'll bring it up again and again and again in order to divert attention, as I said earlier, from things people care about. Are you better off now than you were 3.5 years ago? For most people, the answer is no, unless you're an illegal alien.
Well, you know,
Crystal, final thought on that?
The big thing here is we know that this campaign has already been polarized. There's so many, you know, topics and events that have happened in the last month, literally 30 days. And what we should expect is that the media should hold J.D. Vance accountable, because he is running to be the vice president of these United States. And so I don't care if it was 3 years, 3 days, or 30 years ago. If it is something that is dealing with the voters of this country and how they cast their vote and how they cast their trust in potential candidates moving forward, it is absolutely fair play. And the media on both sides, regardless of where they stand, should question him and hold him accountable to his words.
Larry Elder and Crystal Knight, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Somehow, some way, J.D. Vance's childless cat lady's comment became white supremacist. I kid you not. Sigh. Please tell me this lady does know that J.D. Vance is not married to a white woman and their 3 kids are therefore children of color. Vance married the daughter of Indian Hindu immigrants. Please tell me the MSNBC Hee-Haw host corrected her. Nah. Didn't happen.
The stats are there. More and more Americans choosing not to have kids, which again emphasizes why J.D. Vance's comments about childless Americans, childless cat ladies, could be so politically damaging.
Well, so what's interesting is this natalism that comes from an authoritarian playbook, right? That there need to be more white children, right? That's the idea, that there's, you know, this is about great replacement theory racism, right? This is what this is. So don't misunderstand it for him wanting more children. He wants a certain kind of, you know, racist thing.
But suddenly, magically, the Vance children apparently are white.
I'm white! I'm entitled!
Looks like they all read the memo that was passed out on what to call J.D. Vance.
Some of what he and his running mate are saying, well, it's just plain weird.
These guys are just weird. That's where they are.
As weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
Super weird idea from J.D. Vance.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's quite weird. They're just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
That stuff is weird. They come across weird, and then they start being weird. Yeah, they're weird.
Being a really weird.
He's such a weirdo.
Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate, they're weird. Deeply and profoundly weird. They are weird.
These Republicans just being weird, it's just weird. It's really weird.
Republican weirdness goes even deeper.
He said a lot of things that are weird, a weird style that he brings, weird policies. Let's start with the weird thing, because it is a thing.
Just plain weird.
What was weird was talking about Diet Mountain Dew. Who drinks Diet Mountain Dew?
You ever seen the guy laugh? That seems very weird to me that an adult can go through 6.5 years of being in the public eye. If he has laughed, it's at someone, not with someone. That is weird behavior.
Weird and cultish.
These are weird people on the other side.
He kind of doubled down on his weird ideas.
I think weird is probably generous.
Simply weird. These guys are just plain weird. Vance as weird?
You know, as the campaign said, weird.
It really is just plain weird.
JD Vance, plain weird.
No,
I mean, I don't know how else you could read it.
Weird. It is kind of weird.
We're not afraid of weird people.
The other side, they're just weird.
Why are you being so weird?
Vance has done something more extreme, more weird. No matter what kind of weird stuff they keep saying.
Trump and Vance are just weird, in addition to being dangerous to democracy.
It's the weird part that's the most engaging.
Whom he addressed as my beautiful Christians, which was super weird.
Weird tech bro, JD Vance.
He's a weird guy. JD Vance, uneasy and sort of weird.
Frankly, for lack of a better word, that he's weird.
Now, a little bit about watching the Olympics. And just like that, NBC/MSNBC, the pro-gun control network that calls Trump a convicted felon and is upset over J.D. Vance's childless Catwoman comment, perfectly okay with Snoop Dogg, convicted of felony drug possession and sale of cocaine, pleaded guilty to assault charges, sentenced to probation for gun possession, raps about B words and H words, and directed XXX porn movies. But convicted felon Trump and J.D. Vance are sexist. Is this a great country or what? Now, when I posted what I said about Snoop Dogg on social media, a couple of people said, well, Snoop Dogg is not running for office. So, as long as someone is not running for office, women are okay with being referred to as B's and H's?
Very interesting, but stupid.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
You can be in heaven, or you can be in hell. The choice is yours. I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours.
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Media's right. Kamala Harris did not officially and technically hold a position called border czar. Of course, nobody complained until Harris became the presumptive Democrat nominee. Okay, fair enough. During the Obama administration, Steve Ratner did not hold a position officially and technically called car czar, although the media called him that. And during the George H.W. Bush administration, William Bennett did not officially and technically hold a position called drug czar, although the media called him that. Now, neither Ratner nor Bennett complained, but now the media have suddenly decided to be technical and precise. Okay, let's continue this theme, media. There is no such term in the U.S. Code as undocumented immigrant or illegal immigrant or undocumented worker, although the media call them that. The correct statutory term for somebody in the country unlawfully is illegal alien, although the media do not call them that. Now, just don't say that Kamala Harris is in favor of open borders. Just don't say that.
An undocumented immigrant.
An undocumented immigrant.
An undocumented immigrant
is not a criminal.
These are God's children. These aren't just throwaways.
Your immigrant status, whatever it is, does not, in our mind's eye, designate you as a criminal.
I support our sanctuary law.
Abolish ICE.
And we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
It is wrong to deport 11 million people.
Deal with the problem. We have 11 million people here who need a pathway to citizenship.
Finally fixing our system so that we can give people a path to citizenship.
I am not for a wall.
A wall should not be confused with border security.
To suggest that we have to build a wall because there are terrorists who are trying to invade
the country. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border.
Is the situation to any degree a result of signaling from the Biden administration?
No, the answer is no. Kamala Harris is inspiring.
And yeah, I am a radical. I do believe that we need to get radical.
She's prepared right now to do this job. She's prepared to be commander-in-chief.
And yeah, I am a radical. We need to get radical.
How liberal?
You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage, but...
Yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
Quote, border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Think that she can win?
Absolutely. She can win. This is going to be a great test of the power of the media to take someone who formerly was universally disliked and transform them into a godlike figure. And they will use everything that they have to try to do that. The question is, are the American people smart enough to see through it? And I actually think the American people are smarter than anybody gives them credit for. And I don't think that they are going to be willing to sacrifice what we have in this country, which is what everybody else wants, even though they try to denigrate our country, say we're systemically racist, we're unfair to people. If we were all that bad, why are all these people trying to get in here? And why aren't people trying to get out of here? So we know that we have something that's very good. And I think the American people realize that, and they're not willing to give that up and trade that for something inferior.
Were you surprised? It's interesting that you said the media are the key for Kamala Harris. Were you surprised how quickly the media pivoted from basically forcing Joe Biden out of his job to adoring and worshiping Kamala Harris?
No. That didn't surprise me at all, because I've been watching the media for a number of years, and I see how they're like a flock of birds. Have you ever noticed a large flock of birds, and they all turn at the same time, and they all go, and you say, how in the world are they doing that? They almost have this cohesive communication, and they work together.
It is real simple. Are you better off now, or were you better off under Trump?
Well, John, look, this is such a frustrating housing market for the millions of Americans who are on the outside looking in, right? They want to buy, but they just can't. Not with these prices, not with these mortgage rates. And some of them, they're throwing in the towel, they're walking away. So this brand new CNN poll shows that 86% of U.S. renters would like to buy, but they can't. 86%, just 13% say they could afford it, but they're choosing not to. Now, to take this a step further, when you just look at the ones who can't afford it, only 46% say it's either very or somewhat likely that eventually they'll be able to buy. More than half, 54% say it's not too likely or not at all likely that they'll ever be able to buy. That really speaks to a lot of pessimism here about the American dream, how it feels like it's out of reach. Politically, you can see how this would be an issue for the party in power. And economically, it's a problem too because, look, home ownership remains the ticket to wealth generation. So this is just widening the gap between the haves and the have-not.
Speaking of cringe-worthy.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi, you're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Brock, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both.
and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Pass the barf bag. A Real Clear Markets article said Bank of America needs to come clean about debanking practices. It wrote, and I'm quoting, more victims of Bank of America's debanking regime have come forward, including Timothy II Project International and constitutional scholar John Eastman, a friend of mine, both debanked under similar circumstances by the nation's second largest bank. The bank's lack of transparency about cancellations that suspiciously look like they are based on viewpoint is why shareholders sought a report assessing whether the bank's policies and practices pose a risk of politicized debanking. Old Glory Bank will never debank any law-abiding customer. Our mission is the Constitution. Open an account at oldglorybank.com, and when you get your debit card in the mail, activate it, and you'll get a copy of my latest book, As Goes California, at a 50% discount. oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Some final thoughts. What, you ask, do I think of The View?
If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on That's what you hear.
And speaking of a gray matter, or a lack thereof,
I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart, and then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics, awareness of the stupidity of socialism, and diarrhea.
For tethering yourself to reality, the only no-brainer is choosing a brain. Ask your doctor if a brain is right for you.
For more information, visit tryabrain.com.
and now this. Finally, is this adorable or what? Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Say, brought to you by my friends at Yrefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And be sure to patronize our sponsors. And remember, we've got a country to save.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.